Hey guys, good morning. It's Courtney here with Knowledge Well Media. It is March the 27th of 2020. Just wanted to drop a few jewels on you, a few nuggets on you. Good morning to you. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down there and then hit that bell a couple times. And that'll give you notification at each time that I post a new video. All right. I covet your comments. I want to hear what you have to think about the information that I'm providing. I want to know whether it's having a positive or a negative effect on you. Either way, I covet your comments. I want to hear what you have to say about it. All right. So I wanted to just change it up a little bit and kind of reveal a few things to you that I've learned in my research and study. And like I said, I'd appreciate your comments on it, and definitely want to get some dialogue going with you out there, okay? And so what I wanted to talk about, I actually saw a video where someone was discussing whether to take the benefits that are being extended by the government, in these particular times due to the pandemic and the panic of the people. And the benefits, most specifically, they're talking about is like the stimulus package that the Congress is rolling out, this $2 trillion, most ever in our history. And there's a certain temperature or attitude or climate within people that are saying, I'm not taking the benefit. You can keep it. I'll burn that check if you send it to me. I've seen some a post about that. So I just wanted to address some of that and possibly why there is some relevance to that type of mindset towards receiving this from the government. So I'm looking over here. Please don't mind me. I'm looking away at the computer here to look at what these links that I pulled up for you. There is a Supreme Court case, and I'm going to read it verbatim right out of, this is Wikipedia. And it is the Hale versus Hinkle case of 1906 that you've probably heard me delineate to. And I'm going to read this here. This is Hale versus Hinkle, the Supreme Court decision. It says, quote, there is a clear distinction between an individual and a corporation, and the latter, being the corporation, being a creature of the state, has not the constitutional right to refuse to submit its books and papers for examination at the suit of the state, meaning if the state requests it or subpoenas it, okay? Reading on. The individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. Listen, he owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business or to open his doors to an investigation, so far as it may tend to criminate him. Okay, so he owes no obligation, no duty to the state. This is the private individual as opposed to the corporation or the creature of the state. A corporation is created by articles of incorporation filed with the state, and the state becomes the owner of that property. All right. So it's saying here the private individual has no obligation to the state or to his neighbors to let the neighbor or the state examine its books, its private records, any of that. All right. Because to do so, it says, it may tend to criminate, okay, the private individual. That's very powerful. It says, going on, he owes no such duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom beyond the protection of his life and his property. Reading on, his rights are such as existed, check this out, by the law of the land. Let me read that again. The private individual it's talking about, okay, his rights, or her, okay, are such as existed by the law of the land. Listen, long antecedent to the organization of the state. Those private individual rights, my people, is saying that this Hale versus Hinkle Supreme Court decision is saying that those rights that the private individual has was long before the organization of any state. Reading on. And can only be taken from him by due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. Among his rights are a refusal to incriminate himself and the immunity of himself and his property from arrest or seizure except under a warrant of law. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights. Now, that has to be the most profound, most obliterating Supreme Court decision to anything that would try and stand in the way of an individual private man or woman. So, let me ask you a few questions, tailoring it to this Supreme Court decision that I just read to you. It says that there must be a warrant in order to be arrested, okay, and for any seizure to take place. Okay? So, and that includes property as well. Okay? So, he owes nothing, the private individual owes nothing to the public. So, I have discussions with individuals and they say, like, you know, taxation is a good thing because you're giving to the state so that the state can fix the roads and the public can be maintained and all that. But it says here that the private individual owes none of that, owes no duty, no obligation to the public. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't work together as a community. I have no problem with that. The problem that we're having today is that big government is taking control over the private sector in the name of helping us, in the name of fixing things that we have to deal with that sometimes look or seem like they're beyond our control. But how many of you know that before government was established, as it says, long antecedent before any state was set up, we dealt with these issues ourselves independently? Okay, that was, the people did the work. We worked together as a community. You didn't need government for government subsidies or handouts. And as you see here, it says that the corporation or an incorporated entity owes all of these duties that a private individual does not. Okay, so you don't want to be a corporation for certain. So wouldn't that raise a question? How are we being seized or arrested for things that are like not considered necessarily criminal? Because for something to be considered criminal or for a crime to have taken place, there has to be in law what's called a corpus delicti. That means there has to be an injured party. So let me ask you a question. When you're driving and you fail to put your seatbelt on, and let's say you get pulled over by Johnny Officer, okay? And he says, you know, I'm going to issue you a ticket, okay? Because you don't have your seatbelt on. You know, roger that. So can I ask you a question, officer? Did I commit a crime that you're detaining me? That you're giving me a ticket? Is this a crime? Because a crime, according to the law, there must be a corpus delicti. So an injured party. So who am I injuring when you're pulling me over by detaining me? Who am I injuring? Is there a reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime was being committed or was about to be committed? Because those are the two criteria that they must meet in order for a crime to be suspected, right? All right. But, you know, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. Just something to think about. And definitely you should read over this Hale versus Hinkle. Remember, he who does not know his rights has no rights. You have to be able to articulate your rights, and that is the true American way. You can't just call yourself a patriot or show much pride in being an American if you don't know what the founding fathers, what the constitutional law has established in order to protect you. The Constitution is a contract. Okay, it's a contract, and that contract was brought to life to protect the individual from tyranny or government encroachment in an area where they don't have a constitutional grant to be. The Constitution is to protect you from public officials that are acting not in accordance with the grant that they were given by the Constitution. All right? So, moving right along, I want to also drop this on you. There is a distinction between what's legal and lawful. We're at 11 minutes. I'm going to try and move it along speedily here, if that's even a word. But anyways, listen to this. It is crucial to define the difference between legal and lawful. All right? The generic Constitution references genuine law. The present civil authorities and their courts use the word legal. Is there a difference in the meaning? The following is quoted from a dictionary of law of 1893. Here's lawful. In accordance with the law of the land. What is the law of the land? That would be your constitutional right, your constitutional law. Okay? Here, moving on. According to the law. This is lawful. According to the law. Permitted, sanctioned, or justified by law. Lawful properly implies a thing conformable to or enjoined by law. It has in quotes legal. A thing in the form, okay, in the form or after the manner of law. So legal is not law, it's a form of or after the manner, okay, of law or binding by law. It says a writ or warrant issuing from any court under color of law. That's a key phrase. We'll talk on that later. Is a legal process, however defective. See legal. Now let's look at legal. That was law or lawful. Here's legal. Latin, the legalis. Pertaining to the understanding, the exposition, the administration, the science, and the practice of law. So it's not law. Legal is the practice of law. As the legal profession, legal advice, legal blanks, newspaper implied or imputed, okay, in law. So implied in law. Opposed to actual, legal looks more to the letter, the form and appearance, and lawful to the spirit or the substance and content of the law. Legal is more appropriate for conformity to positive rules of law. In other words, positive law are things that are actually enacted and passed by Congress, okay? That's what positive law. There are also non-positive law. Should I share that with you? Sure. 42 USC, okay? Let's see, Title 4D under the Social Security Act. Your Social Security Act, check that out. You'll find that that's a non-positive law title. That means it was never enacted into positive law. That means it's not actually law, but it is presumed to be law until it is proved otherwise. In other words, I can come to you and say that you're my brother, okay, and you're not actually my brother, right? And so legal or non-positive law, I would set the law just by my implication. You're my brother. But if you never come back and say, you know what, Courtney, we don't have the same mom or father, I can prove it here. You present your facts and evidence, and then you disprove You refute and rebut my claim to be your brother. Once you do that, then that cancels out or voids that non-positive law that I established, that I posited, that legality that I inflicted, let's say, for lack of a better term. You can defeat that by evidence and proof, right? That's what non-positive law is. It's just an inference until proven otherwise. Moving on, running way long here. All right, so lawful for accord with ethical principle. Legal imports rather that the forms or appearances of law are observed, that the proceeding is correct in method, that rules prescribed have been obeyed. Lawful, that the right is actful in substance. Not sure how that was put, but that moral quality, is secured. Legal is the antithesis of equitable, meaning ownership, okay, and the equivalent of constructive. In other words, just like it implies, constructive, something that's built, okay? Legal matters administrate, conform to, and follow rules. So they are not the law. They follow after the law. They conform to the law. I always use the analogy. Remember, as youths, maybe you grabbed a balloon and you blew it up, and then you put a toy inside while the air is still in there, and then you either pop it or let the air out, and the balloon shrinks and conforms to the toy that you put inside the balloon. That's the difference between, that's the distinction between legal and law. Law would be the toy that you put inside the balloon. The legal would be the balloon. It conforms to the toy when you let the air out. Okay? They're not one and the same. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else here? All right, so moving on. Another thing I wanted to hit up before I let you go. We all are familiar with the biblical principle of the mark of the beast, okay? And all of this is kind of coming home. I'm going to bring it all home now. I know this is longer than usual, but just bear with me. It's very important. So, in relation to the first topic of receiving things from the government, taking things from the government, you're essentially exchanging your rights. Remember, the corporation and the individual, two separate types of entities. One owes allegiance or an obligation to the state or to the government. The other one is private and owes no duty to anything. So how does that look? How would that look in today's society? Well, here's the thing. When you take a benefit from the government, essentially you are contracting with the government, and because they give you something in a contract and you receive it, that means that you agree to the terms. Whatever it is that what you took, whatever terms they put on that, you are now bound by that contract and those terms. So when you take a package, a stimulus package, a so-called economical package from the government, essentially you're binding yourself to a contract saying, I receive whatever terms are attached to that item that I received, or whatever that stimulus or economical package is. So I wanted to touch on indicia, a very powerful word, and it means signs, indications, or distinguishing marks. Now, let me see, do I want to go there? How did I come up with that term, indicia? That's not a familiar term, all right? I think the Latin is index or indic, the Latin indicium, and then indicia in the early 17th century, okay? What it means is informer or sign, indicium, index, informer or sign, a mark, okay? Now, the Bible talks about taking the mark of the beast, right? We're all looking for this mark of the beast. Is it a computer chip? Is it something going under the skin? What is it, right? We're all thinking this. We're all waiting for it to happen. I contend that we have already participated, and many more are about to participate now by receiving something from the government, by receiving these handouts, these supposed benefits. because you have to exchange something in place. A contract has to have mutual assent or consent, full consideration, and there has to be an exchange of value. So let me ask you a question. When you take something from the government, such as welfare, TANF, AFDC, which are non-positive law titles under the Social Security Act, 42 USC, right? When you take that, what are you giving? That's something to consider. And before I let you go, what is a name? It says, this is Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition, the designation of an individual person or of a, get this, firm or corporation. Remember, there's an individual and a corporation. Which one are you? Check this out. In law, a man cannot have more than one Christian name. Okay? Well, I'll stop right there. Just know that a name, according to the legal dictionary or the lawful law dictionary, Black's Law, 2nd edition, it says that it's the designation of an individual, person, or firm, or corporation. Listen to those key words. A designation. Remember, indicia is a signs, indication, or a distinguishing mark. In other words, it's designated to an individual or a corporation. So, have you taken the mark? Do you have an indicia, a distinguishing mark? What's your name? Huh? Who gave you the name that you use? Yeah, mom gave it to you. But then, what about the birth certificate? What about the Social Security card? Read the SS5 form. Pay attention to, if you look back in my archives, I actually did a video on the name. Okay? You should definitely pay attention to my video. Go back in my archives and check out the video, The Minor Issue. I challenge you to do that. It's going to change your life and you're going to look at things in a whole different light. I did very good study. I think that's my #1 watched video. It has like over 3,000 views. You have to check it out for more information. Look, I've made this long enough. We're at 22 minutes. It's the longest one yet. I try to keep them between 10 and 15 minutes. That's my goal. But you know what? I had to hit these points today because people are discussing whether they should take this benefit from the government. I contend, and I'm going to act myself in the way that, according to my beliefs, and that is that I don't want a government benefit. I don't want a handout. I want to live according to the Constitution, the common law way that America was founded on. Stand on my own 2 feet, plant my own seed in the ground. If need be, fix my own potholes in my street, take care of my business, take care of my family, be honorable, and struggle and work hard if necessary. All right? Be an entrepreneur and reestablish the old American values. You want your country back because right now it's slipping away. The Fed is buying up everything. Sooner or later, they're going to have it all. Small businesses are going to be gone. Middle class is going to be gone. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit down and let it happen? Or are you going to return to what it took to build this quote unquote great nation as it once was? All right. So that's enough. I'm getting off my soapbox. We're at 23 minutes now. What do you think? I really want to hear what you have to say. We can continue this discussion. Also pay attention. I got a couple responses to the text messages and things I sent out regarding the Zoom meeting that we can now establish. I can send you the link. I can send you an invite and we can all jump on here and have live conversations. Let me know. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to waste my time if nobody's interested. This information is for you. It's for the community. And we're looking to build this platform to so that people can make informed conclusions, because informed conclusions are drawn here. That's why we have the name Knowledge Well. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. You might have to hit it a couple times so that you get notifications each video I post. All right, I want to hear what you have to say. Let's get some dialogue going. What else do you got to do, huh? You ain't going to work. Well, most of you ain't. Anyhow, Courtney with Knowledge Well Media, signing out.